Okay, hi. So we're going to just look at some body mechanics, starting from the ground up. The purpose of this will be to be able to coordinate the various parts of our body, feet, hips, torso, hand, in all of our actions, and reinforce the idea of structure and groundedness. So, we'll start from the ground up with the feet. Nice wide stance is optimal. You want to make sure you get your hip over your heel, back straight, not broken at the waist. You want about 2.5 shoe lengths between your feet. This may be difficult for some people, but you want to push yourselves a little bit. Bend the knees, sink into the ground. And now you're going to maintain that groundedness as you move, not by lifting yourself, but by pushing yourself forward. From that bent knee. Push, push, push. Going back, from the ball of your front foot, push yourself back, push yourself back. Notice that my hips are not moving up and down, and my sword is staying as level and as parallel with the floor as possible. Knees bent, push forward, push forward, push forward. From the ball of the foot, push back, push back, push back. When done properly, the feet should be staying the same distance apart at all times. Okay, so once you've established that foundation from the hips down, now we work from the hips up, using the turn of our body to move our structure back and forth from guard to guard without breaking at any time. So we come to guard, sink our weight low. Make sure your sword is in line with your arm. This is what you want to avoid. Your arm may be straight forward, but your wrist may be broken in either direction. Right? It is very common to let your hand come more towards your center line, opening up the line over your arm, and breaking the structure at the wrist. Place the sword in line with your shoulder. You'll be moving that using your hips and torso. So from here, I'm simply going to rotate my chest and let that point my sword over towards my left, thereby closing the inside line. I rotate the other way, moving my point with my torso, not with my wrist, to close the outside line. And a little bit of a terza seconda, terza quarta, terza seconda. Notice that my knee is still pointing straight forward. I am not letting it follow my point. Okay. Once you have gotten that, then start adding the motion from the ground. A step, a turn. Step with a turn. Leading with your point, always leading with your point. Start moving your point across using your torso and stepping, finishing both actions at the same time. And back. Again, notice that my hips are staying level to the ground. So I can also change guards completely instead of just the fine inside out by a full rotation, placing the shoulders in line, letting this take my hand across my center line, and then back, making sure that my point stays in line as much as possible. So from here, I pull this elbow back, letting it pull my shoulder back, and place the point in line. I bring the shoulder forward again, and my sword and arm are in line with my right shoulder. And with motion, it becomes pushing myself forward, pushing myself back. I can do the same thing, moving towards a full seconda. Notice that I let my feet gather together so as to not present a target with my right foot. And forward to quarta again, to seconda, to quarta, to seconda, quarta. Finding on the inside, finding on the outside, changing guard to quarta, to terza, quarta, to seconda, to quarta, to seconda, to terza. All right, so now that we've got the body rotation in conjunction with our feet and legs and hips, we're now going to add a forward lean. This is not something that you want to do from the common capoferro stance, except when you lunge, but that lunge still has to be in isolation from our hips. So, from the proper stance, right, with our weight back, the idea is to bring our shoulders forward without bringing our hips forward. And this is how we begin the lunge. Here, from this pillar, you reach forward. Hips are staying back. What we want to avoid is moving everything forward. Right? Keep it back, reach forward, reach back. Take a step forward, reach, weight goes down into the back leg, take another step forward, weight goes back into the back leg, forward, forward, back, back. Now I can, from here, once I've got that down, I can start lunging, take a step forward, and extend from the hip, no motion of the pelvis forward until I push it forward. I recover by bending the knee, pulling the hips back, and then the body and the hand. Forward, extend, push, pull back, situate yourself on the pillar. So these are the gross body mechanics that you want to keep practicing. Now we're going to look at the final piece of the puzzle, which are the hand mechanics involved in moving the point, and especially during the cavazione. So, if you look at me gripping the sword, I have my hand coming down on top of the grip. The pommel is coming to the heel of my hand, maybe a little bit beyond it into the wrist if I have a small hand or a very long grip. But you want the grip and the pommel to follow the line of hand and arm, so that once you are holding the sword, you should be able to balance it on, with the ricasso on your forefinger. The pommel comes under your wrist or heel of hand and keeping the point from dropping. Right? You tighten the grip, there will be a little push of the heel of the hand down into the pommel or the grip, raising the point. When I release the fingers, the point drops. When I tighten, the point raises. And this is how we want to perform the cavazione with maximum efficiency. No motion of the arm, as little engagement of the wrist as possible. We engage the wrist, we start getting sloppier in our actions because the wrist is relatively weak. Here we're keeping the wrist as straight and as strong as possible, using only the leverage of the sword on our fingers to move the point, like so. So what we want to avoid is locking our sword, arm, and body together so that everything is now controlled by our feet and knees. And we get what I call the cavazione of the body, which looks like this. There's no motion here. It is all locked in. It is all connected, but you want to be able to isolate the movements and coordinate them. So from here, you'll start with just that little drop of the point, tighten the grip, raise the point. Drop, tighten, drop, tighten. Then you can add a little bit of body inclination, drop, tighten, drop, tighten. And finally, we're going to add the feet. Using the fingers to move the point, the feet to move ourselves forward and back. When I step in to gain the sword and the measure, I can be extending the arm a little bit to push farther in, but that's a forward extension of the arm. It is independent of the motion of the point. And finally, we can add the rotation of the body so that we can change lines as we perform a cavazione and as we move forward, as if we are getting the sword but being parried by our opponent. So from here, I'll make a motion to the inside to find. He will parry me to the outside, and I will drop the point, extending my arm, turning my body as I move forward. He parries me in a direction, I avoid him, turn, turn, turn. Notice the point is leading, the point drops to free itself, and the turn of the body moves the sword into the opponents to re-engage. And all of this is also tied, but moving separately from the motion of the feet. So the feet are moving forward, but are not creating tremors through the body and the hand. All right. Put it all together, and now we have a very smooth motion across the floor, where the sword moves as little as possible, and all its motion is tied, is begun with the weaker muscles, but radiates back using the core muscles. Drop the point, turn, move forward with the feet. Okay, so that's a lot of what we've been doing for the last few weeks. Partnered, obviously. If you can't work with a partner, you can certainly work on your body mechanics. That's it. I hope to see you very soon.